Persons who fully surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always think of his lotus feet are accepted and recognized by the Lord as his own personal assistants or servants. The Lord never bestows upon such servants the brilliant opulences of the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems of this material world. When one possesses material opulence in any of these three divisions of the universe, his possessions naturally increase his enmity, anxiety, mental agitation, pride, and belligerence. Thus one goes through much endeavor to increase and maintain his possessions, and he suffers great unhappiness when he loses them. Purport. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 11, the Lord says, Yayata mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmana bhuvartante manusya parthasarvashaha. As devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Both Indra and Vritasura were certainly devotees of the Lord. Although Indra took instructions from Vishnu to kill Vritasura, the Lord was actually more favorable to Vritasura because after being killed by Indra's thunderbolt, Vritasura would go back to Godhead, whereas the victorious Indra would rot in this material world. Because both of them were devotees, the Lord awarded them the respective benedictions they wanted. Vritasura never wanted material possessions, for he knew very well the nature of such possessions. To accumulate material possessions, one must labor very hard, and when he gets them, he creates many enemies, because this material world is always full of rivalry. If one becomes rich, his friends or relatives are envious. For Ekanta Bhaktas, unalloyed devotees, Krishna therefore never provides material possessions. A devotee sometimes needs some material possessions for preaching, but the possessions of a preacher are not like those of a karmi. A karmi's possessions are achieved as a result of karma, but those of a devotee are arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead just to facilitate his devotional activities. Because a devotee never uses material possessions for any purpose other than the service of the Lord, the possessions of a devotee are not to be compared to those of a karmi. Should we repeat the verse? Persons who fully surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always think of his lotus feet are accepted and recognized by the Lord as his own personal assistants or servants. The Lord never bestows upon such servants the brilliant opulences of the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems of this material world. When one possesses material opulence in any of these three divisions of the universe, his possessions naturally increase his enmity, anxiety, mental agitation, pride, and belligerence. Thus one goes through much endeavor to increase and maintain his possessions, and he suffers great unhappiness when he loses them. Oma Gana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshulan Militam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swaya Vapakadamayam Dadati Svapadandikam Vanchakopa Turubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It's nice to be back after just a few weeks. I think I was here. You know, New Delhi is a place coming and going. You know that, huh? All of you were staying. Others coming and going. I'm actually going to Switzerland for 5 days because Prabhupada was there 50 years ago. Just last month, he was there 50 years ago, so they invited me to go there. So it'll be the first time I've been there in 50 years as well. So I've also changed bodies a few times since then. So this is an amazing verse and purport here, which I think we could talk on this verse and purport for weeks. Starts out very nicely talking about, of course, Vritrasura and Lord Indra. So many things stand out in both the verse and the purport. One thing I like Prabhupada says in here, imagine Lord Indra. Who could imagine Lord Indra? Huh? King of heaven. What does Prabhupada say? Indra, he's going to rot in this material world. This is how pure devotee sees things. This material world has no interest in this material world. And the lotus feet, always meditating. Devotees always meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Well, what does that mean? Always meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. That meditation means service. Everything for a devotee is about service. Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says that without service, your chanting, all your chanting will not have the desired effect. Our whole business in chanting is we're looking for service. This is what it means to be praying, worshiping the lotus feet. It means to be serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. To be serving the lotus feet of the spiritual master. When we were with Srila Prabhupada, you all have experience, you have spiritual master. We were always worshiping, watching. When Srila Prabhupada was present, we would watch his lotus feet. We weren't allowed to touch them. Everyone was giving strict orders, no touching the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Huh? On different occasions, Prabhupada said that when someone touches the lotus feet, you have to take their karma for their sinful activities. And even with the devotees, Prabhupada said to me, you should not do. He said, even with the devotees. Of course, in India, in the West, in the US, in England, Europe, after I had become his servant, I had never been out of the USA. And we followed all the instructions very carefully that we heard. So many instructions about Srila Prabhupada. In fact, all we did during our service was talk about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was here. When I joined, he had just gone to Russia. That was an amazing thing called the Iron Curtain. Behind the Iron Curtain, that's what we knew as Russia. Communist Russia. Godless civilization. And Prabhupada, Krishna's most sincere servant, went there. Somehow or other, he was allowed in. Somehow or other, he got a Bhagavad Gita in to give to that first person. So we would talk about these things. What Prabhupada did here, what Prabhupada did there. When I became his servant, I would be in his room. He would ring the bell. I would go into his room, and people would be on the other side of the door, closed door, and they would be listening, trying to hear, what is he saying? One time it was in Vrindavan, before the deity installation. I don't tell this story, but I think I'm going to tell it. So the deities, I've been living now in Vrindavan for 4 years, trying to do a little service there for the deities, Krishna Balaram Mandir. So all the deities, if you've been, most of you have been to Prabhupada's home, his quarters in Vrindavan. So you have the sitting room, and then just to the left is a little room. They have the palanquin in there that Prabhupada was on. So that room, that's where all the deities were before installation. Gaur Nitai, Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyam, Lalita Vishaka. They were all lined up and covered in that room for weeks as the opening was approaching. So many activities were going on. So much service was going on. Service to the lotus feet, our business. Service. Devotee has no other business, no other desire. These descriptions in the verse and the purport. Who wants these things? Envy, anxiety, mental agitation, pride, quarrel, distress due to loss. Have any of you ever lost your phone, your iPhone? How much stress you have, huh? Phone is lost. This is possessions. I possess. Of course, sometimes devotees, they're in the other extreme. They don't possess anything. They drive a car. They'll drive it till it runs out of gas, it runs out of oil, runs out of water. That's not my car. That's the other extreme. Also not a good situation. Krishna's, because it's Krishna's, we take care of everything very nicely. Huh? So this temple, Krishna Balaram Mandir, Prabhupada said it's his home. How special Krishna Balaram Mandir is. All the temples are special. We know everywhere. I've said temple is Vrindavan. Like we know Prabhupada, he left Vrindavan to give Vrindavan to everyone. But then how special, then how special is Vrindavan? Such a special place. You're all very fortunate. Sometimes I'm sure they let you go to Vrindavan, yes? Sometimes. Prabhupada, like more than that, you do your service. We had that way back. Now more than ever we see guru groupies. You know what groupies are? Groupies. In English they call groupies. It's like you have your Bollywood stars. People that just follow them around. They go here, they go there. We have guru groupies. They just want to be with the guru, to look at those lotus feet. But that's not your business. Your business is serving those lotus feet. Not simply, I want to see, I want to see. In Vrindavan now I do some pujari seva. Sometimes I never see the deities. We're doing so much service for them, you don't even get the opportunity to take darshan. This was the position of most of Prabhupada's disciples. They didn't see him. They only heard him on tapes, cassette tapes at that time. You'd hear his lectures. But they were busy doing service. And that was stress. That service was stressed. This is how you worship the lotus feet, through your service. And the more you do that and you become detached from all these possessions. So I was saying, Prabhupada in Vrindavan, one day he called me in. So in that room, Jamuna would be in one part of Prabhupada's quarters. Daiva Shakti would be in there, they're preparing lunches. Palika, sometimes they would cook for Prabhupada. We rang the bell and I went in. He said to me, he said, the ladies in Vrindavan, especially Vrindavan, he said, they can serve the deities behind the scenes, not that they could be seen. So cooking, even in the early days, they were dressing the deities in Vrindavan. You never saw them. Pujaris were always the men, the brahmacharis, grahasta with their little bellies, little prasadam bellies. The ladies were behind the scenes. Now they're very, very behind the scenes. But Prabhupada said they can do these services. And then he laughed. He said, wholesale impure. Ladies, wholesale impure. Prabhupada, he would say things, some of the words he used were very amazing, how he could say a phrase, so much he would say in a few words. So then he talked a little more, and then I got up and I left the room. As soon as I opened the door, Jamuna and Palika were cooking for Prabhupada. They were on the other side of the door. One of them kept, what did Prabhupada say? What did Prabhupada say? Was Prabhupada talking about the deities? What did he say? And I said, oh, he just said how to take care of the deity. What did he say? I said, well, he said that women were wholesale impure. And Palika got very excited, very happy. He said, Prabhupada's so sweet. And Jamuna looked, she said, what do you think he said? Prabhupada said women are wholesome and pure. English, a little difficult. Wholesome, very, very good. And pure. Wholesale and pure means wholesale, top to bottom. But Prabhupada, he engaged everyone. So many of the pujaris. We have one Mataji in New Vrindavan. She's 94 years old. When I became Prabhupada's servant, she was head pujari in Los Angeles, New Dwarka Temple. That was the world headquarters. She was the head pujari. And devotees would come from America all around to train, because Prabhupada trained her specifically how to be pujari, to be trained by Prabhupada. But then you have to follow everything as Prabhupada gave us. Our ISKCON society, what do we say? Purity is the force. This is the force of our society, is how much we follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. How many times do we hear Prabhupada say, I have not done any miracles. If any miracle I did is what I followed the instructions of my spiritual master without any change. He says it again and again and again. This whole society he created was based, he says, because I followed my spiritual master's instructions perfectly. This is the secret of success. So when I was there in Los Angeles, as Prabhupada's servant, so Shalavati, head pujari, she would see me bringing Prabhupada his plate of prasadam. When I would bring Prabhupada his lunch, I would cook everything as he showed me in his cooker. Little spices, all the spices made in ghee, little chants made in a little spoonful of ghee. spice the sabji, spice the dal. Then I would make one chapati and put it on the plate and bring the plate in. Put the plate down. Immediately Prabhupada would come, sit down, start taking prasadam. I would run back to the servants' quarters and make another chapati. Chapati would puff up, put a little ghee on the top, put it on the plate, run into Prabhupada's rooms, put the chapati on his plate, offer obeisances, and run back out. I would do this 5 times, 6 times, every chapati, one at a time chapatis. So Shilavati saw that. So one afternoon she came up to me. She said, Srutakirti, you know what I'm doing? I said, no. She says, when I offer the deities the Raj Bhog for lunch, she says, I just give them one puri. And then I go back out, make more puris, and run back in and put the puri on the plate. Then run back out, make another puri, and put the puri on, back in, go back on the altar, put the puri on the plate. And as soon as she said it, I thought, this is not Prabhupada's instruction. Immediately I could understand, no, this is not a good idea. So of course I came into Prabhupada. I would have to do that sometimes. This person's doing this, this person's... So I said, Prabhupada, Shilavati, she's bringing the deities one puri at a time, like I bring you one chapati at a time. Prabhupada said, no. He said, nonsense, how can she do that? He said, once you put the plate on the altar, you leave, the deities have to take. You stay out 15, 20 minutes, then you go back in and collect the plates. She said, why is she doing this? I said, well, she saw him. No. So this is serving the lotus feet. Not that you make things up. Well, they're doing this, but I'll do this. The famous expression we learned back then so many times. When the spiritual master asks for water, what do? You bring him water. You don't bring him milk. You bring him what he asks for. So this is service. And whatever he tells you to do, that's what you do. Whatever he says is truth, that's the truth. To find such a spiritual master only gives you the truth. One time I disobeyed, maybe a few times. One time deliberately. It was in New York City. Hot. Like here, hot, like rainy season here, hot and humid. And Prabhupada was in his room. And on the flight over, it was the first time Prabhupada had a 7-Up. You all know 7-Up, right? You've heard Prabhupada drinking a 7-Up. It was the first time on an airplane from London to New York City. And the stewardess is going down, and they just had the little cups. Some of them had clear, bubbly 7-Up. Some of them had Coca-Cola. And she came by and offering us drinks. We're dressed dirty, kurta, shaved heads, 1973. Do you want anything? And Prabhupada said, what is that? I said, a 7-Up. Okay. So I had ice in it. So Prabhupada took a 7-Up, cup, plastic cup of 7-Up. So of course, whatever Prabhupada does, we do. Some things we like to follow, not everything. Prabhupada would get up 1 o'clock in the morning. Who gets up 1 o'clock in the morning? Any volunteers? But if he took a 7-Up, and then we just watched. Myself, I'm next to Prabhupada. Shyama Sundar's next to me. And Prabhupada picks up the cup, and you can see the bubbles. You ever see 7-Up? The bubbles are popping up, and Prabhupada looks and he goes, he said his eyes said, this is very good. Then Prabhupada takes a sip, we take a sip. No Sri Vishnu's, no Sarira Vidya. Prabhupada does. Whatever he does, you follow. That's our business. He takes another sip. He said, this is very refreshing. It was like a 7-Up commercial with Prabhupada. So he drank the whole 7-Up. So we all had 7-Up. So then a long flight, 10 hours or so. So 3 hours later, now they're pushing the cart, big cart. And it's got the cans, all the cans, wine, beer, sodas, water. So they're pushing the cart. And stop in front of us. And Prabhupada said, yes, 7 o'clock. 7-Up. He wanted 7 o'clock, he said. I'll have 7. So now we have a cup and the can. Can of 7. And Prabhupada looks at it. And he's reading the ingredients. Carbonated water, sugar, citric acid, lemon, lime. He said it's all natural ingredients. He said it's very good. So again, we all had 7-Up. So when we arrived in New York City, devotee asked me, like, here, come, what do you need? He said, what do you need for Prabhupada? I have been with him now for 6 months. I could never think of anything he needed. He never needed anything. Whatever was there, he never said, I don't have this towel's too hard, these sheets aren't. He never said anything. Whatever Krishna provided, he was satisfied. So in my little brain, he said, does Prabhupada need anything? And I'm, no. He has Krishna. What do you need? There's Krishna's lotus feet. But then I thought, I said, you can get 6-pack of 7-Up. He looked at me like I was crazy. Huh? 7-Up. I said, you can get 7-Up. So he came back later with a 6-pack of 7-Up. And I put him in we had a little refrigerator like they have in the guest house, a little fridge. So I put it in there, but I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't just offer Prabhupada 7-Up. So then one evening he was talking with one devotee, temple president from one temple. And the door was closed. After a half an hour, the devotee comes out, comes to me. I'm in this little kitchen area. He said, Prabhupada wants water. I said, okay, I'll bring it. No, I'll bring it, he said. I'll take it. I said, no, it's my service. Don't let anyone take your service from you. I said, it's my service. You're temple president, big. Me, I'm a little servant, bring water. So then I thought, 7-Up. So I filled his goblet, silver 7-Up, ice. I have it on the tray, silver tray, and I walk up and the door's closed to Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada never closed his door. The door's closed. So I open the door and I'm balancing the tray and the devotee's trying to grab the tray again. He's trying to take my service from me. I said, no. It was 7-Up. No one else was going to do that. I had to do it. So again, I put the tray on Prabhupada's table. I offer obeisances. I'm right by the desk, just like this, Prabhupada's desk. I'm sitting right there, right next to the tray, and Prabhupada's right here, and he looks, and he can see it's not water in that cup. You can see the bubbles in the ice. He says, what is this? I said, oh, it's 7-Up, Prabhupada. He said, oh. Then he grabbed the cup. He took a sip. The bubbles make you do that. He said, this is very refreshing. And then he took his cup and he stood up next to his table and he just was drinking the 7-Up, just drinking. So I didn't bring him water like he asked. I brought 7-Up. But you have to be very careful if you're going to change what he asked you to do. So then he finished it. And the other devotees looking. Prabhupada was drinking a 7-Up. Then he finished, and I said, would you like some more? He said, no, that's okay. So then I left the room. So our business is to please the spiritual master. Worship the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality. No other goal. Otherwise, even it's described in the heavenly planets, the subterranean heavenly planets, so much enjoyment is there. It's all suffering. You see these people with big, big money. They're always in anxiety. Everyone that approaches them, they think they're after my money. Even you try to become a friend, they want to become my friend because they know I have money. Always anxiety. Every situation's anxiety. Prabhupada, I always tell this, when in Delhi, or Juhu, Bombay, Bollywood, stayed in a very nice palatial house. And it was the first time in India I stayed anywhere that was nice. You know, we would stay in places in 72, 73. There was no Parthasarthi temple then. In Delhi, he would stay in this place, that place, like life members' places, little rooms. Now we were staying in this marble palace. And Prabhupada called me in because I had my own room, my own bathroom, everything nice, clean. He said, so, Srutakirti, you like it here? He knew I liked it. I liked all this nice comfort. I said, yes, Prabhupada. He said, yes. He said, if Krishna gives us a bed, we sleep in the bed. But if he doesn't give us a bed, we sleep on the floor. That's devotee. Only wants to serve Krishna. I won't tell the story, but the ending of the story, we know in Vrindavan, Radha Damodar temple, Prabhupada's slippers were stolen by a monkey. When I opened the door, I didn't close the door behind me. And then they were taking slippers. Now they take your glasses all the time. They take your glasses. And you have to buy them fruities, the monkeys in Vrindavan. They're addicted to fruity. So anyway, the monkey came, grabbed his sandal, and we tried to get it back. Prabhupada, I grabbed Prabhupada's cane. Prabhupada and I were, the monkey was right above us with the slipper in his mouth, chewing. They don't just hold it, they like to destroy. They're all rascals. And Prabhupada's yelling, rascal, rascal monkey, rascal monkey. He had me try to give him sweets. I went and got peta from Prabhupada's room. I got 3 of them. I mean, Prabhupada's telling me how to do it, how to give the monkey the sweet and get the shoe. I failed 3 times. Every time I put it up, the monkey would put the shoe down, and I'd put it up a little more, and he'd grab the shoe and grab the sweet. And Prabhupada would shake his head, no, 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 he's going. Prabhupada said monkeys have mystic powers. He said mystic powers, I can do something you can't. To you, that's a mystic power. He said, so they were so fast. No one could be so fast as these monkeys. So 3 times. Anyway, and Prabhupada said, he ripped the back off of the shoe, off of the sandal. Eventually, I got it. After we didn't want it anymore, then the monkey didn't care either. It was also difficult to get, but when I got it, I brought it into Prabhupada. And he looked, and I had one piece, and I had the shoe, and there were bite marks on the heel. And Prabhupada said, oh, can you glue it? I said, yes, Prabhupada. He said, well, glue it. He said, we can still use it. That's a devotee. Had no interest. Oh, now they've got the monkey mouth on it, slobbering on it. It's no good anymore. It's moochy. No, he didn't say any. He said, you fix it, I'll wear it. And he kept wearing them. And me, I have no imagination. I'm just following what he says. So I never said Prabhupada needs a pair of sandals. Anyone would have bought Prabhupada a pair of sandals and taken those, the Maha sandals. It wasn't until weeks later, almost a month later, we were in Hyderabad. And when I arrived there, one of the servants of the house, he said, does your Guru Maharaj need anything? And it finally, I said, oh, he could use a pair of sandals. So after all that time, Prabhupada never said, I need a pair of sandals. Even he's putting his foot on the back, and I'm sure there were little pokey things from the teeth marks of the monkey. But that's a devotee. This is a devotee. He only wants to serve the lotus feet, nothing else. He only wants to do service. And when you're favored, as it's described here, Krishna will see that you don't get only what can facilitate your service. That much he'll give you. That's his mercy, his ultimate mercy for the devotee. Because all these things, they create so much trouble in the mind of a devotee. As soon as you have possessions, you worry about your possessions. As soon as you eat too nicely, you become sick. Think, oh, I'm going to eat. How much can you eat, Prabhupada would say. You eat what you need to keep body and soul together. So this verse, like I say, purport, very nice. We can discuss these topics for a long time. Me, I'm flying to Switzerland, my first trip. I don't want to leave Vrindavan anymore. There's so much nice service there. But sometimes I guess you have to do your service. Huh? So we'll be doing that. We have a few minutes left. Anyone have any questions, comments? There's a Mataji in the back there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Humble obeisance at the lotus feet. You say about services. To do service is more important. But whenever we are doing service, we are not wholeheartedly doing the service. And sometimes we want to skip the services as well. How can we engage ourselves in the services with such kind of attitude that we don't want to leave it? We want to leave service.
You want to leave service?
This happens. Yes, this happens.
No, I could say Prabhupada said service, actually one's doing service, they become, Prabhupada said, ecstatic, and they become more energetic to do service. We're still on a platform of trying to reach. I was talking in Vrindavan, giving class the other day. So Prabhupada said to me one day, I hate sleep. He said, whenever I go to sleep, I think now I'm just going to waste my time. He said, I hate sleeping. Today I still think I don't hate sleep. I look forward sometimes after a day of service, sometimes difficult services, dealing with different people. Everyone has their own. So we're all individuals. And as individuals, we all have differences. But those differences, they all come together in serving Krishna. So we just need to take to our service. The other thing Prabhupada said, if we don't read the books, we don't understand the philosophy, then our service becomes a burden because we don't know why we're doing. We don't know who we're doing it for. I said in that class the other day, Prabhupada called me in the room one day, and he said, this was 1973, he said, none of my disciples believe that Krishna is God. Imagine. We say, I believe, we accept, we come, we offer our obeisances, we're singing, we're chanting, but who's engaged 24 hours a day? Once you understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, You're worshiping those lotus feet. 24 hours a day is not enough time to do service. That's what Prabhupada meant when he says sleeping is a waste of time. Even sleeping is service. But devotee wants to do more. You're never, in Krishna consciousness, you're never at a point where you're content with your ability to serve. We're never doing enough. That's why you see the greatest devotees, what do they say about themselves? Insignificant beggar, Prabhupada said. I'm an insignificant beggar in millions of lifetimes if I can attain the service of the Supreme. So the more one is advanced, the more he thinks I'm not doing enough. When we come, how many hours a day? Everyone has prescribed services, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. We never heard such a thing when we joined in the 70s. It was 24 hours service. We didn't punch in clock, or now you put your thumbprint or your eye. We didn't punch in and out. Service was from morning until night, until you went to bed. There was no, Prabhupada said 6 hours maximum. And that was a maximum. Some were sleeping 4 hours, 5 hours. He said if you're not getting your rounds finished, then you have to stay up and finish your rounds. And if you don't get them done that day, the next day you have to finish those rounds. It was very strict. But if you want to attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is the process. It's not casual. Not a casual, I did my service. I see so many things, I hear so many stories. Very different. Many sincere devotees are there. But others are just comfortable. There's no room. If a bed is there, we sleep in the bed. If no bed, you sleep on the floor. That's a devotee. There's only little prasadam, I take little prasadam. Not that I need big plate of prasadam. So service is like this. When we give ourselves completely, then you'll feel the rewards of devotional service. We can't hold back. It requires faith. In the beginning, it requires much faith, but that faith becomes realized. Krishna reciprocates. That's all what's described here over and over again. Krishna reciprocating with our service. So the more we surrender to him, the more he gives us everything. He gives himself. But that's a process. It's not such an easy thing. Otherwise, he can give you all your riches, all these things he can give. But the devotee, not interested. Prabhupada was never interested. He had beautiful places he could stay anywhere in the world, but he just traveled and traveled to bring Vrindavan to everyone. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you are so possessive about your services. That's someone is asking for your service to do. Then what is our proper mentality? We should give our service to him, or we should resist.
So someone's asking to do particular service.
Yes, sir.
We can ask. It's always good to be enthusiastic to do service. But of course, we always follow the authorities. Prabhupada set up very much, he said, our society run like military. So we all follow the leader very closely. If we have an inclination to do a certain service, management will also see when the time comes. First thing we have to learn, first service we all did was sweep and mop floors. I say when I joined in Pittsburgh, the temple room was a converted basketball court. You know, basketball court? Very big. So the first thing they did was give me a mop when I joined and told me, sweep and mop this floor. It was almost as big as this temple room with just a mop. Not hired help, devotees, we did all of these things. So this was we were happy to do any service. You see, Prabhupada, what did he do? He did everything. He cooked. In the beginning, he cooked. He served prasadam. He never asked anyone for help. It's very important to understand. When Prabhupada came to America, when he started the society, when he had 26 Second Avenue, he did everything. He did the speaking, did the book distribution, he did the cooking, he served it out. It wasn't until someone said, "Can I help?" Then he said, "Yes, you could do." Then he could give you everything to do. Soon as one submissively, because that's devotional service. Submissive, with submission. So whatever service we have, devotees happy. Of course, we have talents. Prabhupada said everyone has a gift. Devotees should know how to do everything, but should be expert, at least one thing. So that thing, hopefully, we can gravitate to in time. But the most important thing is to learn the attitude of a Vaishnava. Humble attitude of a Vaishnava. Just prepared to do anything. But me, just like, now I have mixed services. I have so much service in Vrindavan. And then I'll get invitations to fly here and fly there. And it becomes difficult to decide what to do. Then you can ask others for assistance, people that you have some faith in, that know, that have common sense to see what is the best thing to do. But whatever it is, service, everything, your chanting will become better, everything will become better. Our mind, our attitude, by doing service. All right, I think we need to stop here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.